Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good to see you. Gita, Edward, Elaine, Gabriella, Ethan, Sally, Elaine. Sally is saying, retreat reflection. At the beginning of the retreat, I had expectation of world will be different after retreat. What I see now, the world is just the world. My world to accept the world is different.
Okay.
That's pretty great, actually. Very good. And everybody's sharing where they are. So Bradley is in New Jersey. Sally's also saying, may I share all the merits I accumulated in this retreat to everyone to end suffering? 3 empty sadhus. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Gabriela says, I'm from the USA, but my parents are from Central America and South America. So I am omni-American. I like that. Hello, Ron. Welcome, Jens, Yenny, and Jessica. Good to see you. All right, so we will... Oh, Sally also says, also after I followed Bante's instruction of pulling feet over on the thigh, my ankle feels much better these days. Thank you. Much appreciation.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can start. Hello, Kevin. We can start with chanting the Ratana Sutta.
And did you put the link to the Ratana Sutta?
I didn't, but I'm going to do it right now if you'd like to chant with us. You can find the link right here in your live chat.
Okay. And so I'll be chanting this pretty fast today, so follow along as best you can. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Yani da bhutani samagatani bhummani vayani vantareke sabeva bhuta sumana bhavantu atopi sakacha sunantu vasitam tasmahi bhutani sameta sabbe metam karota manusiya pajaya devacharato chaharanti evalim tasmahi nerakata apamata yang kinchivitam midavahuram va sarge suvayam ratanam panitam nano samamati tathagatena idampi buddhe ratanam panitam etena sacena suvati hotu kayam miragam amatam panitam yada jagasakya muni samahito tena dhammena samati kinchi idampi dhamme ratanam panitam etena sacena suvati hotu yang buddha seto parivanai sucim samadhimanantarikanyamahu samadhinatena samona vijati dampi dhamme ratanam panitam etena sacena suvati hotu ye bhungala tasatam pasata chatari etani yugani honti te dakineya sugata sasavaka ete sudinnani mahapalani Idampi sanghe ratanam panitam etena sacena suvati hotu. Yesu payuta manasa dalhena nikamino gotamasasanami. Te patipata matam vigaya ladhamudhani buddhim munjamana. Idampi sanghe ratanam panitam etena sacena suvati hotu. Yatinda kilo pataving sitosiya chatu bivate via sampakampiyo. Tatu pamam saburisam vadami yo ariya sachani avechapasati. Idampi sanghe ratanam panitam etena sacena suvati hotu. Ye ariya sachani vibhavayanti gambhira panyena sudesitani. Kinchapi te honti busapamata nate bhavam yatamam adiyanti. Vedampi sanghe ratanam panitam etena sacena suvati hotu. Sahava sadasana sampadaya taya sudhamma jahita bhavanti. Sakaya deti vichike chitancha silabhatam vapi yadati kinchi. Chatuhapaye hichave pamoto chachabhitanani abhabhokatum. Idampi sanghe ratanam panitam etena sacena suvati hotu. Kinchapi sokham mankaroti papakam kayena vacha udacetasa. Abhambo sota sapatichadaya abhambata ditapadrasavutta. Idampi sanghe ratanam panitam etena sacena suvati hotu. Vanapagumbe yata pusita ge gimhanamase patamasmin gimhe. Tatupamam dhammavaram adesayi nibbanagamim paramam nitaya. Idampi buddhe ratanam panitam etena sacena suvati hotu. Varo varanyo varado varaharo anutaro dhammavaramalesayi. Idampi buddhe ratanam panitam etena sacena suvati hotu. Kinam puranam navam nati sambhavam virata chitta yatake bhavasming. Te kinamija virulhi chanda nirbanti gira yatayam paripo. Idampi sanghe ratanam panitam etena sacena suvati hotu. Yani dabhutani samagatani bummani vayani va antaleke. Tathagatam devamanusa pujitam buddham namasama suvati hotu. Yani dabhutani samagatani bummani vayani va antaleke. Tathagatam devamanusa pujitam dhammam namasama suvati hotu. Yani dabhutani samagatani bummani vayani va antaleke. Tathagatam devamanusa pujitam sangham namasama suvati hotu. etena satchavajena dukkhavopasamentu te. Etena satchavajena bhayavopasamentu te. Etena satchavajena rogavopasamentu te. Okay. So please go ahead and get in meditation posture. So sitting up nice and straight and making a resolution to hold still once you're settled in place. Take a couple deep breaths, allowing the body to relax and settling attention in your body, just as we've been doing for the past 7 days now. Collecting the mind, unifying the mind, sharpening attention, centering attention on the body, and allowing the mind to be completely still, awake, alert, and still. And appreciating the pleasantness of the body, appreciating the pleasantness of an alert, peaceful mind, holding steady on the body. Whatever the body is like in this moment, just accept it's like this, and that's okay. Not wanting it to be this way or that way, not wanting it to change or to stay the same, but just accepting the body as it is, moment after moment after moment. Not expecting it to be any particular way, not hoping for it to be any particular way. Just allowing it to be what it is, allowing the body to be what it is moment by moment. feeling the body intensely and clearly, knowing each moment of bodily experience with clarity and peacefulness. And when the mind is settled, alert, and knowing, recognize that the body is constantly changing. Every moment, a new body experience appears and immediately disappears. Flashing in and out of existence so quickly it seems only half real, like a ghost, like an illusion. Like a half forgotten dream. Keep the mind sharp, alert, awake as you recognize the insubstantiality of the body, its hollowness, its emptiness. And all the objects that float through the mind, thoughts, emotions, images, memories, recognizing that all of those too are impermanent, insubstantial, constantly appearing and disappearing. Like a flash of lightning, gone the moment we turn to look at it. Allowing the recognition of impermanence to encompass and penetrate more and more of our experience, encompassing all five senses: sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch, and sinking deep into the mind as well. Recognizing the subverbal currents of mind, the impulses, the tendencies, the instincts, recognizing all of that as well as impermanent, insubstantial, hollow, unreal. Recognizing that even the surface of the mind, the basic field of awareness in which things appear, even that basic field of awareness, that field of consciousness, is also impermanent, fluctuating, rippling, shifting and changing moment by moment, coming and going moment by moment. even our self-identity, who we think we are, what we think we are, even that is shifting and changing moment by moment, always trying to adapt to the new conditions that we face, trying to keep a sense of continuity where no continuity can be found. So recognizing that even self-identity is impermanent, insubstantial, illusory, hollow, empty. You can relax your posture. Just rest for a moment in the peacefulness of the mind. So we're coming to the end of our time together. Um, the end of this. I guess someone's shaking her head. I'm not sure why.
What? Because we're meeting again tomorrow.
Okay, so admittedly, that turn of phrase makes a little bit less sense with a remotely held retreat. That's true. Because technically we're not together, but we're also together at the same time. So this retreat is in fact emptiness. It both exists and it does not exist. We're both together and not together. So this is actually a wonderful teaching in Buddhism. And this retreat is also impermanent, like everything else, which means it's coming to an end. In fact, it was never here in the first place.
As Gabriella says, Upasata is tomorrow. Can't get rid of us for too long.
Well, the truth is, we're committed to doing morning and evening every day for the foreseeable or unforeseeable future. Though tomorrow evening you'll have a special guest, Bante Sanatavahari, who's adorable and also a lovely teacher. But we'll come to that later. So we've spent now 7 days practicing with developing samadhi focused on the body, and body samadhi, and cultivating the recognition of impermanence. Possibly also doing a little bit of silent illumination practice, or maybe a lot, depending on how well it went for you. And I hope that you've had some deeper experience of these meditation methods, that you've got a better appreciation for how profound they can be. And the profundity of them is usually not in the form of sudden dramatic breakthrough moments, but rather something that keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper over time. So it's gradual development, gradual progress. And being patient then is a really critical element of our practice. So one of the similes that the Buddha uses, which I've always found very, very evocative, is he gives the example of a craftsman, a carpenter who has a tool with a wooden handle. And every day the carpenter uses that tool. Until after many years, the carpenter notices that there's a thumbprint in the handle of the tool. So the carpenter can't say, on Thursday, April 22nd, 2020, I put a thumbprint in the handle. I know it's not Thursday. Wednesday? What is today?
Tuesday.
Whatever day it is. Days are arbitrary, also empty. Tuesday, whatever this is in April 2020, I put a thumbprint in the handle. Nor does he necessarily know on any given day exactly how much of the handle was worn away. But he knows that over a long period of time, gradually, bit by bit, the thumb wore into the handle until the thumbprint became apparent. So it's like that with developing this practice. In the beginning, it's just like, impermanence. Yeah, I guess stuff is not permanent. I guess things are changing, I suppose. But then you practice it for a few years. And over the course of those years, it just gradually gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Until one day you realize what an incredibly profound experience you've been having during this meditation. And you realize you've been having really profound experiences during this meditation for a long time. But it's hard to say when it became profound. It's hard to say on what day it became a deep meditation. You just know that over time, gradually, the recognition of impermanence worked its way deeper and deeper into every part of your experience. So being patient with the development of this practice. But also, we do from time to time set aside periods of intensive practice. So, like this retreat time, periods where we really try to focus on making a lot of progress in a short amount of time. So we can more clearly see the progression of the deepening of our practice. So I hope that over the last 7 days, you've had some taste of how powerful these methods can be. They're not complicated. They're not complex. They're pretty straightforward. They're not necessarily easy, but they're pretty straightforward. So this is what can be a little deceptive, is they look pretty simple on the surface, but you practice them and you realize the incredible depth that they contain. So I remember one time we had a retreat here, and a person came on the retreat, and at the end of the retreat, this person wrote in their evaluation form, the teachings were really basic. I didn't learn anything. But this particular person, I'd had some conversations with them both before and after the retreat, and this person was a total disaster. Their morality was close to non-existent. Their samadhi was terrible. They had no understanding of the Buddhist teachings. They were filled with dukkha. So it wasn't that the retreat was not deep enough for them, but rather it's that they were not recognizing how deep the teachings were. They were not recognizing the profundity of the material that was presented to them. So this is one of the elements of the Buddha's teachings, which I've always found really remarkable, is that the Buddha gave, for the most part, with some exceptions, but for the most part, he gave teachings which are very straightforward, but deceptively profound. And that you look at it, and on its surface, it looks pretty simple. Pay attention to your body and recognize impermanence. It's like, is that it? Really? Is that it? But then you do that for 12 hours a day for 7 days, and you're like, whoa, yes, that is it. And oh my, how fabulous it is. Or the Four Noble Truths. So often people brush over the Four Noble Truths as though it's basic Buddhism. But actually, these are some of the most incredibly profound, earth-shattering, life-changing teachings you will ever hear. And actually, the retreat I mentioned, where the person said it was too basic, it was a retreat on the Four Noble Truths, as I recall. But clearly, this person didn't understand the Four Noble Truths, or else they would have been a Buddha. So, recognizing that even the simple, straightforward teachings can reveal a vast ocean of depth and profundity when we practice them wholeheartedly and sincerely. So that's been my experience with these methods. And I hope that you've had some taste of that over the last few days. And I would really encourage you to keep up with this, keep practicing, keep going deeper with it, and keep bringing it into every moment of your daily lives as well. The Buddha's teachings are meant to be lived. So not just when you're meditating, but in every moment. Every single moment of the day, be clearly, intently aware of your body in the present moment. Every moment of the day, recognize the impermanent, insubstantial nature of everything that's arising and ceasing. And don't take these things seriously. We don't need to get all worked up about what's going on. We don't need to be disturbed by what's going on. It's just dukkha arising and dukkha ceasing. Don't take it seriously. If you take it seriously, then it has control over you. If you don't take it seriously, if you just see it as conditions arising and ceasing, then there's no problem. There never was a problem. So I don't have a lot to say this evening, except to say that I'm happy that you've been joining in, and I hope that you'll continue to join in as we mm, resume our regular daily schedule of online teachings. And for this evening, if you have any last questions related to this retreat, or if you have any reports about what your experience was like, um, please go ahead and type them into the live chat and we'll talk about it. Okay.
Thank you, Bante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So, Mariela is asking, can we speak after 9 p.m. or tomorrow?
Let's say at the end of this session.
So after 9 p.m.
Yeah.
All right. And Gabriella is also giving little review of Bhante Sanata Vihari, who will be in tomorrow's session. I know that guy. He speaks Spanish too. He's a good monk.
Yes.
So thumbs up.
Correct on both counts.
She also says the complexity is only how much the mind makes them hard. I mean, it's only cracking at the fundamental causes of suffering and wearing it out. The mind is the biggest obstacle to making it happen, and it's still extremely life-altering when it happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Mark has a question. So tonight I did 1 hour. When I felt very agitated, I said a phrase like, I'm happy with my self-discipline, and use that happy feeling to drop back into samadhi. Is this okay, at least for a while?
Yeah, that's fine. It's a relatively coarse method, but sometimes we need to use coarse methods. So one of the skills that one develops in meditation is knowing when to use a coarse method and when to use a subtle method. It's like sandpaper. Well, so I used to do woodworking, not in a long time, but I used to do woodworking. And you have coarse sandpaper and you have fine sandpaper. Actually, you have a whole range of different grits of sandpaper, from very coarse to very fine and everything in between. So you need to know when to use the coarse sandpaper and when to use the fine sandpaper. Because if you use coarse sandpaper on something subtle, then you'll just damage the wood. It won't do any good. In fact, you'll just make problems. But if you use fine sandpaper on something that needs coarse, then you're just wasting your time. You'll just keep rubbing the sandpaper without doing anything noticeable until you wear it out. So it's the same with our meditation. We need to know when a coarse method is the right one and when a subtle method is the right one, and apply what's appropriate to the time. And there's no shame in using a coarse method when it's needed. So sometimes I've encountered a number of people over the years who think that they should only use subtle methods because they think that the subtle methods are the best. But that's not true. Subtle methods are best when you need a subtle method. Coarse methods are best when you need a coarse method. So the best thing is to know your mind in that moment and to use the method that's best for that moment. Okay?
Thank you, Bhante. And Kevin is saying, I've heard people say that about the 4NT too. Oh, Four Noble Truths.
I thought you said the foreign tea, as in like tea from foreign countries.
It's an acronym. So it was like 4NT. And at the very beginning, I thought it was a mask.
Like N95.
Yes.
Yeah, well, yes, you should wear the 4NT mask in order to protect you from the deadly virus called dukkha. So the dukkha virus is everywhere these days. So wear your 4NT mask.
That's great. I'm still getting used to acronyms in everything in this country, even though I've lived here for a while. But it's a great acronym. About the Four Noble Truths too, like beginner Buddhism. But like Bhante just said, Buddha was very clear that when one fully penetrates the Four Noble Truths, they are enlightened. Mm-hmm. Yes, we're all working on it. Oh, then we have some appreciation messages. Gabriella says, Venerable Sir, tonight I wish to convey my appreciation for your patience.
Oh,
And Lamo says, the inspiration along with the guidance you guys give through YouTube is so precious. Oh, you guys are so kind. And Gabriella has a question. I have major progress by recognizing that pain is a major cause of anxiety, but not aversion like I thought would happen. I'm confused by this paradox, but what should I do to prevent mind states from damaging my sila and various determinations I have made for my moral development?
okay, I'm not quite getting the connection with that with pain. Can you read the question again, please?
I believe it says, I have made major progress by recognizing that pain is a major cause of anxiety,
Mm,
but not aversion like I
mm,
thought would happen.
mm.
I'm confused by this paradox, but what should I do to prevent mind states from damaging my sila and various determinations I have made for my moral development?
Well, it sounds like you're already making progress towards that because you're becoming more aware of your own mind states and of the patterns that your mental activities tend to take. So keep developing that clear mental self awareness. And then you'll recognize when you're starting to fall into unwholesome patterns, unwholesome habits and tendencies, and you'll be able to cut it off and stop it before it starts pulling you in the wrong direction. So that's really the way that we work with this. It always starts with clearly knowing what's going on in our mind in every moment. It's when we're distracted or when we're not mindful or when we're not paying attention. That's when we're more likely to slip up. So keep an eye out for that. Also, start to familiarize yourself with what conditions are particularly challenging for you so that when you know you're going to face those conditions, you'll prepare yourself. You'll remind yourself to be extra alert. And also constantly remind yourself of the blessings of your practice, of the benefit you get from your practice, of the blessings of morality, the blessings of renunciation, the blessings of self determination. Because that will also help encourage you to be committed to your resolutions, to be committed to your practices of goodness. Okay.
And Ron is asking, how was our experience? How has it been with this online remote retreat? I assume it's your first and something which is sustainable going forward non pandemic times. Any plans for when will the cosmic session be?
Well, so my experience was that it went relatively smoothly. So we're already talking about doing another online retreat next month. So sometime soon we'll pin down exactly when that's going to be and get it put up. Um, as for after the pandemic, yeah, could happen. Could happen. Yeah. We've actually said that one of the blessings of this pandemic situation is that it's opened us up to considering uh, doing more online programs. So being more available through this kind of format. So yeah, these things are possible, especially if there's sufficient demand for it. If people are clear that this is something that they want and that they appreciate and that they're benefiting from, then yeah, we'll do what we can to make it happen. Yeah.
And Ethan is sending his appreciations. Um, and Gabriella is following up from what she was saying earlier. As an example, trying to break my determination to sit when pain is not life threatening and I know it's nothing to be afraid of. So I think you
Mm,
covered it.
mm.
Mark says, so a friend of asked me if using a cat for a mouse problem is like hiring a hitman, their karma, or is it the cat's karma?
Oh boy. Well, ultimately, it comes down to your intention. So, the proper Buddhist way to deal with a mouse problem is to get live traps. Um, so, there's mm, the best ones that I've seen, they're kind of like a long rectangular cage with a door on either end. And so you put food in one door and close it, and you leave the other door open, and the mouse will run in to get the food, and the door closes. So live trap. Then you release the mouse somewhere far away, usually at least a few miles away, and you're fine. Um, they, and you just keep doing that until you've got all the mice, and release them somewhere else, and you're fine. No problem. So that's the ethical, moral way to deal with a mouse problem. And also making sure that your building is quite well sealed so they can't get in the first place. Making sure that there's no food that they can get to. So we had a mouse problem at our last retreat center, and this was how we handled it. So we used live traps to remove them, but most importantly was that we removed their food supply. We stored all of the dry goods and so on. We stored in hard containers that the mice couldn't get into. That actually is the most important thing, is just don't give them anything to eat, and then they'll stop coming around in the first place.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting a cat, well, cats are fuzzy and sweet, well, sometimes, but they're fuzzy and they can be good companions. So it's fine to have a cat as a companion. Cats also will scare away mice just because of their smell. So there's nothing unethical about that. But if you get a cat thinking, I am getting a cat in order to kill those mice, then yes, that's like hiring a hitman. And yes, that's unwholesome. So it's in your state of mind. If you think, I'm getting a cat because it's going to be executed because that's what they do to stray cats in this country. That's the other thing. If you're getting a cat, do not buy one. Adopt one from an animal kill shelter. Adopt one that's going to get killed. That's the proper ethical thing to do here. Don't buy a new one, because then you're just contributing to the overwhelming cat murder cases in this country. But yeah, if you're just adopting a cat because you want a fuzzy companion and you want to save a cat's life, that's fine. But if you're getting a cat because you want to kill some mice, that's not fine. Okay?
Fine. Thank you, Bante. I think he's actually following up on. Well, anyway, Sally says, may I ask how to contemplate on mental anicca correctly? During guided meditation, contemplating on the mental formation, I am not sure thinking, minding is correct or not.
Whatever appears, recognize it as impermanent. See that it comes and goes. See that it's not stable, it's not persistent. That's it.
All right, thank you. And Kevin is encouraging people to support the monastery by practicing dana. So you can go to buddhistinsights.com/donate if you're interested and willing to do so. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu for keeping us alive. And Mark says, I read a book by a Buddhist scholar named The Trauma of Everyday Living. In the book, he said there was a sutta where the Buddha says 1 in every 8 things is our karma. The rest is just the world. Have you heard of this sutta?
Yeah, that's a horrendous misrepresentation of that sutta. No, everything is karma. Now, I know exactly the sutta he's talking about because it's commonly brought up when people try to claim that most of what we experience is not karma, but that's a complete misrepresentation of that sutta.
How about we study it during sutta study one of these days?
That's a good idea. Yeah. Can you make a note of it?
Yeah, I will do it right now.
Okay. Yeah, everything is karma.
Although with qualifiers.
That's the short answer. The short answer is that everything is karma. The long answer takes a long time, but we'll do it another day. So, next question.
In the last sitting, says Sally, while I wasn't observing, I don't feel pain, etc. Once I'm gonna end the sitting, all the pains disappeared. Something happened with computer. Oh,
did we lose the live chat?
No. A lot of questions appeared all of a sudden, so it scrolled down. In the last sitting, while I was while I was observing, I don't feel feet pain, etc. Once I'm going to end the sitting, all the pains, mind proliferation came along. I realized if staying in a world just observing, there will be no pain at all. Once mind begins to think, problem begins.
Hmm.
While I had aversion to the pain, Bante's words arised. There is no pain at the beginning. This is your quote. I realized the pain is what I identified as pain, like in sitting. I didn't conceptualize it as pain, so I don't feel pain. I feel like the meditation world, that without crazy concept. How to bring to reality world.
Hmm. Yeah, actually, you touched on something really important there, which is that most of our dukkha arises from our thinking, not from our experience itself. So it's very important to recognize. So this is one of the reasons why we put so much effort into learning how to control our thinking mind, because our usual habits of thinking make us really miserable. They don't make us happy. They make us quite uncomfortable. What was the final part of your question? What was the actual question part?
I like the meditation world, that without crazy concept. How to bring to reality world.
Yeah, just as you go throughout your day, always be mindful of your body, and make an effort to keep your mind silent at all times. Only activate your thinking mind when you need it, which is not most of the time. So instead, just focus on being sharply, intensely present with your physical experience moment by moment. So be aware of the mind, but don't get involved in active thinking unless you need to. And whenever you become aware that you're engaging in any kind of unnecessary thinking, immediately stop and bring your mind back to your physical experience. Okay?
Thank you. And Marielle says, before the plague happened, I decided that this year I was going to unify the different selves I created by living in different countries, coming back home, and remembering a lot of blocked memories from childhood. My mind since the end of 2018 has been agitated, to say the least. This whole week has been about that, and I have felt the calmest and also craziest I have been in a long time. It is funny how everything that is happening in the world gave me the opportunity to slowly do that.
Hmm.
2 weeks ago, I read a book that connected with me and my personal process. And then this past week, we have this retreat. I'm just very thankful that you both exist and that you're helping me even from a distance. So thank you very much. Aww.
That's very sweet. Well, I'm really happy that you've been joining in and benefiting.
Yes, I second that thought. We are also happy you exist. You both exist and don't exist. And Gabriella says, when I'm reminded of how I used to be before I practiced the Dhamma and recollecting Sila and Dana makes my mind pretty glad. I'm still struggling with easing the mind when euphoria comes up. How do we build it down into a smooth tranquility?
That tends to happen naturally. So actually, one of the ways you do this is you just focus all your attention on the euphoria, just on feeling it. And as your mind becomes focused and unified around the feeling of the euphoria, then peacefulness will start to dominate that experience. So you just allow that peacefulness to slowly move to center stage, so to speak. Okay?
And Nora is sharing, thank you so much for sharing the teachings of the Buddha. This has meant so much to me during this strange quarantine time. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I love that this is turning into like a sharing circle like we do on retreats. So this is great. At the end of retreats, we usually do a little sharing circle where people say what they have in mind. And so it's kind of like turning this way, which is quite nice. Custom Wavelengths says, when I meditate laying down, should I hold my feet upright or let them relax to the side? They usually fall to the side and it causes pain in my legs, but it's too much to focus on keeping them upright.
It's not usually recommended to meditate lying down. It usually turns into sleeping. But yeah, the traditional meditation posture for lying down is to lie on your side with your legs stacked on top of each other. Um, it's a bit hard to describe. It's easier to show, but that's not really practical here and now. But yeah, lying on your side with your legs stacked on top of each other. Um, but you have to make a really strong effort to keep your mind sharp and alert. Otherwise, you tend to doze off. You can also do reclining meditation lying on your back with your arms and legs straight. Again, though, you have to be really careful not to fall asleep. It's very easy to fall asleep.
And Bradley's saying, I remember helping to clean out that basement in Far Rockaway. Shudders.
Yeah, those were the days.
Well, actually, big shout out to all the volunteers that helped with the mouse problem and was solved in such a short amount of time. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and very humane way. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Much merit. And Sally is saying, last time, Bhante mentioned emptiness is more than just cause and condition changing. It's formless. Could Bhante please give more explanation of formless is beyond constantly changed cause and condition? How could we understand everything if dukkha passes away? Especially when it's good things. I felt that sukha pass away, so I won't feel happy when sukha ceased.
I think I should probably just give a talk on formlessness because there's not really a short, easy answer to that. So I think we'll just put that down as a topic for another talk. Okay.
But perhaps you can address the dukkha sukha.
Oh, well, sukha is also dukkha. So sukha arising and ceasing is dukkha arising and ceasing. Okay.
We'll do a talk specifically on that. Actually, let me write it down. Dukkha sukha. Ron says, I had, actually, Gabriella says, Kitty and Poppy Mills shudders.
Yeah.
Yep, facts. Ron says, I had 2 yellow jackets, jacket wasps, huge nests. I knew it was ethical to let it be, and in winter it will be abandoned until someone complained and cops demanded to clear it in an unethical way. Is that okay?
So, what?
Oh, in light of cat and mouse example, you said what could have been done above?
Yeah, so I've had to remove some hornet nests in the past at monasteries, actually. In that case, you just knock the nest down from a distance with a long pole and be ready to run if you have to. But you don't have to kill them. You just dislodge the nest and the hornets will fly away because they're not usually so interested in a nest that's on the ground. If necessary, you can move the nest that's on the ground as well, but you have to be careful not to get stung. But yeah, this doesn't have to be, you don't have to kill them. Usually if you just dislodge their nest, then they get the hint and they go somewhere else. Yeah.
And Gabriella says, if I just try to wait for the euphoria to go away, I get extremely cold for some reason. I shiver and tremble unless I break concentration, and it doesn't build to sukha or pasati. It just breaks up.
Yeah, well, don't try to make it go away. Don't expect it to go away. Don't want it to go away. Be perfectly fine with it either being there or not being there. Then there's no problem. Just keep focusing on your meditation object and don't worry about it. Okay.
And Mark is asking, what is the name of the sutta I mentioned that was hugely misrepresented?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I would have to look it up.
Well, we'll announce it when we put it on the schedule, so you'll see it. Sally is asking the last question. May I ask for tonight guided meditation? Does any sutta mention about the contemplating on mental nature, especially self-identity, etc.? I really like them.
Oh gosh, I would have to look to find specific ones. Um, but I mean, keep in mind the Buddha said "Sabbe sankhara anicca," so that means everything. Anicca, everything. Yep. Sabbe sankhara anicca. For example, that's in the Dhammaniyamata Sutta. It's also in many other places. Okay. Is that any other questions?
And James is suggesting that perhaps the sutta is Anguttara Nikaya 1060, maybe. I don't know it on the top of my head. We'll see. I love that James is like a sutta dictionary. Kevin says, often some of my best ideas come during meditation out of the blue. Ideas for work or art projects. Any idea what to do with these?
Yeah, forget about them. You're not brainstorming for your work or your art, you're meditating. Let it go. Okay, any other questions?
And if all of that doesn't help, what you can do, because this was the reason why I laughed, was that I had that problem so much for the first year of my practice. It was extremely strong. I had a little notebook next to myself while I Kevin says, oh, you could say that. It's amazing because I also would react to that when Bante would say that. Anyway, I put a little notebook, which, by the way, he actually suggested this method kindly a few years ago. So to have a little notebook next to you while you're meditating, and if you can't let go of the tendency or you can't let go of the thought, then you just open the little book, annotate whatever thought it is, and just let it go like that. And the more you do this, then after a while, you'll let go also of the tendency of mind of attaching to the thoughts.
Yeah, so that's the more gentle answer that I sometimes give, but tonight you did not get the gentle answer. You got the direct one.
Well, that was the direct method. Then the gradual path is the notebook method.
Yeah.
And Bradley is asking about tomorrow. So tomorrow we will be taking the Upasana. We will be taking the Upasana. We'll be taking the 8 precepts. Tomorrow is the Upasana, and I'm a little exhausted tonight. So tomorrow we'll be taking the 8 precepts in the morning at 8 a.m. And Bante will be sharing some words on the Upasana.
It's not your turn?
No, my turn will be Thursday evening.
It's always my turn, apparently.
Well, it's the when you get to do the schedule. It comes with perks. And then in the evening, Bante Sanata Vihari will be joining us here. So we'll be having little guest visit. So he won't be physically here in New Jersey. He will be physically in California, but he will be here on the YouTube channel. So you can connect to as usual, to the YouTube Buddhist Insights. If there are any technical problems, just make sure to go back to the homepage and it says live stream happening. So you'll find the right link in case there are some issues like there were with Bante J when he did his first live stream. So from then on, we'll just keep on continuing every morning at 8 a.m. and then 7:30 p.m. in the evening. So we'll be meeting every time, and we're arranging also another special guest, Bhante Akaliko from Australia. He will also be leading a morning session in a couple of days. We'll let you know.
Well, next week.
Next week. Okay,
Yeah.
great. And Sally says, what I was asking is in guided meditation, self-identity didn't exit there at the beginning place. We need to bring the self-identity up on purpose, right?
Oh, it's already there. If it wasn't there, then you would be fully enlightened. So self identity is already there. So the practice I was recommending is to recognize the existence of self identity as a process that's going on moment by moment, and recognize that the self identity process is also constantly changing, which means it too is impermanent. So I kind of threw that in as a little extra bomb right at the end of the retreat because that's actually a very advanced technique, a very advanced, subtle aspect of recognizing impermanence. Um, so, yeah, if you're not there, you're not there. That's okay. But it's something that you might find comes up again at some point in the future in your meditation where you recognize, oh, there's that self identity process. And that too is impermanent. That too is constantly changing.
And Mark is asking, is it okay to practice shamatha late at night? I once had a Tibetan teacher say not to practice after midnight.
Practice whenever feels right to practice. Yeah, if you're awake after midnight and you want to do some meditation, then do some meditation. Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Yeah, every time is the right time.
Yeah.
Apparently, also Trisha uses a notebook for painting ideas too. Well, Bhante is not a particularly creative person, so I think he has a difficulty relating to this. It's not an offense. You have other talents.
The things I put up with.
Okay.
Okay.
And okay, I think that's all for tonight.
Okay.
And so we'll be meeting tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And take the precepts then. Oh, that's so cute. James says Bhante Sudaso is just a little more Mahakassapa traditional.
Oh, that's very
sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay.
All right, have a great.